Hi, this is Paul Haar from the Saxophonist.org, and I'm here with a playtest and review of the RUE St. George tenor saxophone from Andrews Eastman. Overall, I was quite impressed with the RUE St. George tenor saxophone by Andrews Eastman. But before I go into the details of what I thought about the instrument, I want to say that this saxophone reminded me just how important it is to take your time when trying a product like this. You have to try it with a variety of different mouthpieces and maybe some different reeds, because each bore of every saxophone is different. And it's also important to remember that you want to play your instrument or your potential instrument in a variety of playing situations. If you're a jazz and classical player like myself, you want to play it with piano. You want to play it with maybe a saxophone quartet or other woodwinds. You want to play in a big band. You want to play in a small group, just to see how easily you're able to make your sound. Overall, I found this instrument to be quite good, but I can't say that I felt that at first, and that's why I wanted to give this little preface. When I first got the instrument out and started playing it, I thought, well, here's another good saxophone. And I know that sounds like a compliment, but it kind of sounds like some disrespect, and I don't mean to. I think with the technology we have, and particularly as we are seeing the quality of instruments coming out of Asia being better and better, I was not expecting an instrument of poor quality, particularly one that has taken 5 years in development to come out of the Eastman Company. They've earned their artist roster through their work and their quality of materials. But that being said, I just didn't find anything that was just wow about it. And then it reminded me that seldom do we have instruments that are just wow. Usually when we play something, it happens, but usually when we play something and we have that immediate wow factor, it's one element, maybe it's projection, maybe it's pitch, maybe it's response, that really just takes over. And usually what that means is that one piece of the pie is the only piece of the pie that's actually good. Over time, these things come out. And this was certainly the case with this tenor saxophone. My thundering indifference, I guess I should say, about this instrument when I first tried it really changed and manifested itself. Remember that a relationship that you have with an instrument is just like the relationship that you have with a person. It starts with an introduction and you find something that you can grapple onto or that you enjoy. And then over time, you build upon that relationship. And that is so true with people and so true with instruments. Where I discovered this saxophone to really have some unique qualities was when I was in the ensemble setting. I was fortunate that during this play week that I was testing this instrument, I was also playing with the Omaha Symphony doing a tribute to Frank Sinatra. And I was playing all those classic Billy May charts and the things from the Count Basie Orchestra as part of a really wonderful saxophone section. And normally I would not go into such a situation with a test horn, but I wanted to see what it could do. First of all, I want to tell you that the sound that it produced was full, thick. It had a lot of core to it, and that was the purpose of this instrument. It was created to not be another version of the 52nd Street tenor, which is a little bit bigger, broader, more American, old school, like con type saxophone. This is designed to give a little bit maybe smaller, but not overall small, but a real solid core. A little bit more like a Selmer Mark VI. And I got to be careful with that because, you know, not everything is designed around the Selmer Mark VI. But this does deliver as it's advertised. It has a wonderful, thick core, excellent intonation. That was the first thing that I noticed when we were playing. I think it was Luck Be a Lady, and we have those unison sax section. And instantly, I was locked in with the lead alto player, the baritone player, the tenor on the other side. It was so easy. In fact, it was a lot easier than my beloved Mark VI, Esther. Sweetie, I'm sorry. I still love you, but this one plays better in tune. The other thing that I noticed was that my sound just really blended well with the group. The other part of the picture that really, really impressed me was if you're a tenor player, you know there's a certain area starting from G in the middle of the staff on down to E. That's no man's land, and it is Gurgle City if you don't have the right reed set up, the right mouthpiece. Not once. I could hit middle E's at pianissimo, all the way down to low B's and B flats, which is on Luck Be a Lady. And it just popped immediately. The response is quick, the tone is good, the pitch is absolutely excellent. Now, for whatever reason, the Eastman Company is providing two different necks with this saxophone. There is an R neck and an S neck. Now, they say that the R and S don't stand for anything from what I understand. I was told it's just two different bore designs to get some feedback, different types of tonal responses for the player. Here's what I will say. I preferred the R neck for two reasons. One, I felt it gave me a little bit more flexibility of sound, which is important, especially when you're playing a variety of old school tenor in a situation like that. From what I have been told from the people at Eastman, jazz players seem to gravitate towards the S neck, and I can understand that. It gives a little bit more pungent, brighter sound with a little bit more compactness and a little bit more resistance, but not a bad resistance. You know, kind of that, I hate to say it again, kind of that Mark 6-esque resistance. I didn't like the angle. I preferred the upper angle of the R neck versus the S neck. I was told that the R neck is a little bit more to the liking of classical players. I found that for me, I preferred the S neck for the classical playing. I found that I responded better as a jazz player on this instrument. Now, I don't believe in jazz horns or classical horns. I believe in saxophones. But I do have to admit that with my typical Yanagisawa tenor mouthpiece, I was not able to get the type of tenor sound that I typically enjoy. I would have to go back to maybe my old Selmer C Star and see what that was like, maybe change some different reed options. I can't say that I would have a problem playing classical tenor on this instrument, particularly down in the low register. I played in the example from Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet. Everybody dreads that concert B down there really soft and low and exposed right after the strings come in. This saxophone could handle it well, but then again, I preferred it in the jazz idiom. I would need to have a couple more weeks to really experiment with it in the classical sense. The overall ergonomics are wonderful. I would probably have to say some of the best ergonomics I've ever seen. I go into much greater detail about the offerings, the changes, the differences of the mechanical design in the written review. For those who subscribe to the magazine, you're going to be able to see my review of the ergonomics and all the special features that happen, everything from the engraving to the Sterling buttons. But here's what I can say. This fits my hand as well as any saxophone that I have ever played. Some of the unique designs of the foot in here, the braces here, which you'll want to check out the written review with the extra added features because there's some really unique design stuff here. The new things that they're doing with the thumb rest and the octave key, just to the overall placement of the keys. The feel is just wonderful. Let me finish by telling you probably the best compliment that when I give it is not going to sound like a compliment. And that this holds true for the tenor and also the alto. I found myself after the gig saying, I found this instrument to be familiar. And at first I thought, well, maybe that's just being average. Maybe it's not that great. And then I realized I was probably giving this saxophone the best compliment ever. And that is, I was able to take an instrument that I got on Monday in the mail, picked it up, blew it for a few minutes, and then I was able to take it into a professional orchestra with colleagues that I value and trust and who I want to be as professional as they are. And I was able to do my job, and I think do it well, at least I hope. And I was able to be me, make my sounds, make my music, and not have to adjust to a new saxophone that I've never spent time with. And I think that's probably the best compliment that I can give it. This instrument provided everything that I needed, but I didn't have to think about creating it. It was there. The palette of colors were there for me to draw upon, and I think that's an important distinction about this instrument versus some others that I've tried. And I will tell you that in the end, the fact that the RUE St. George just kind of felt familiar is probably the best compliment that I can give it. That means it's up to the standard that I expect. And I have to tell you, it is quite impressive. In the written article, we will talk about price and all the details and the new features that you'll find on here. Right now, I can't tell you price because, to be honest with you, they haven't sent it to me. But I'm going to stay on them, and I'll get it. But you'll want to make sure that you check out not only the written review, but the extra video features at www.thesaxophonist.org. So to check out reviews like this, featured articles, and of course great interviews and more product reviews, be sure to go to www.thesaxophonist.org.